Number 1. To make progress. As much as the past is a very vital part of our lives, there's a certain level of influence or hold it should have over our future. You might have had a rough past, or one you'd not like to remember. But rather than try to bury it and pretend it doesn't exist, the best way to go about it would be to make peace with it, to move forward. You see, the past would always try to come back at you, haunt you at some point, and might deter you from moving forward. Instead of working on those mistakes of the past and using them to progress, the past can be a tool of hindrance that blocks you from actually moving forward and getting to where you should be. But all that could change if you decide to make peace with your past. The devil will especially try to come at you and make you feel guilty from time to time. He will bring up points and events, experiences that you would rather forget, and make you relive them again. But you have to go past those things if you would ever make progress in life. Look at the lives of great men and people in the world, and even in the scriptures. They didn't have perfect lives and have gone through a lot, yet they didn't allow all of those things to hinder them from becoming great. They made peace with their pasty, got over their backgrounds and fears, and overcame all the obstacles that could have hindered them from performing their best. Oprah Winfrey had a very rough past, one that would have kept many in the shadows, but rather than become a victim, she made peace with that past and used it to propel herself forward. Look at Paul in the Bible as well. He was a murderer and a persecutor of the Christians. When he eventually came to Christ and realized the error in his approach, he could have become sorry and allowed the past to push him into hiding. He could have spent the rest of his life in hiding and feeling bad for himself. But no, he acknowledged that he was wrong and that he'd made a mistake doing all of the things he did. He used his past as a platform to preach the gospel more. Even as a Christian, he didn't let the achievement of the past get into his head and stop him from doing more. He said, quote, "This one thing I do, forgetting those things that are behind," end quote. You have to let go of the past if you want to move forward, and that's why you need to forgive yourself, get over what has been, and get past that spot. There's a whole future waiting out there for you, a whole landscape to explore, but you won't be able to do much if you keep yourself tied to your past or let it hold you back. You owe it to yourself to be better, and your past should not be a reason for not achieving that goal. Your past should even be the reason you want to do better. You shouldn't have a better yesterday. It should be from one level to the next, getting better and better. So even when your past stares you in the face and tries to stop you, you shouldn't let it. See it as a record that you have to reconcile to move on to the next stage. You might have been a failure in the past, gone through various rejections, or maybe your record is not even as clean as you would want. Still, you should know that you are not defined by the past. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17 tells us that whoever is in Christ is a new creature, as old things are already passed away. Now, if all you see as a believer in the life you've lived, the evil you have committed, or how much you've deviated from the truth, you might never step into all the promises and things that Christ has in store for you. Your guilt will keep holding you back, and that will be a tool that the devil uses to keep you from your inheritance. God has a plan to give you a great future. Why not make peace with your past and step into all that God has for you? Number 2. To live in peace with yourself. Your past is a part of you, and so you can't keep running from it. Just think about it. For how long do you think you can run from yourself? Or is it even possible to do that in the first place? You can avoid people, places, things, events that are up to certain memories and pretend that you're fine when that's not the case. You can tell yourself that you've moved on and are making something out of your life. But how long do you think you will last before you're faced with the horrors or unpleasant truth of the past? There's a general saying that he who fights and runs only lives to fight another day. In essence, Burying the past in a heap of activities or adopting a new life is not a solution to what has happened to you, and anything can trigger or bring up those histories or events that you would rather have forgotten. Sometimes it's like carrying baggage around, some extra weight in your heart that doesn't let you be, no matter how hard you try. It's time to go easy on yourself and ease those burdens. It's time to face your past before they begin to ruin the future for you. They may not be nice, may not be something you want to think or talk about, but you have to get to a point where you can accept that you've been there and are ready to move on. At this point, denial or making excuses won't help you in any way. Come to terms with what has been, knowing you can use your past as a weapon to navigate the future, and more importantly, be at peace with yourself. You can't run away from your past. This bears repeating so you know the importance of making peace with that past. It's all a part of you. Perhaps it hurts you to think of these times or brings pain to your heart when you're faced with the ugly truth of what has been. Yet, you have to let go and forgive yourself. You have to realize that trying to bury it will only make the wound deeper and the pain worse. The earlier it's treated, the better the chances of healing. True, there might be scars, but you wouldn't feel the pain any longer, and you'll have rest of mind. At all costs, one of the things you should try to cut away from your life is anything or anyone that would cost you your peace of mind. Your past may even be in the form of a person. Maybe that person is so intertwined with your past, and you would rather not see them again. But how long will you keep running or hiding? If the person is someone that has offended you or made life miserable for you, you need to be able to forgive them. Forgiving them is the best way to go, and it'll not only help your relationship with that person, but also relieve you of a lot of burdens. You'll feel more at peace when you see that person, and the past would not wield so much control or power over you. Whatever you give control or power to will eventually run your life, or maybe ruin it. You can't keep thinking about the past on negative terms and expect to be at peace. One way to do this is to believe that God has forgiven you your past sins and has wiped the slate clean for you to start all over again. If God can forgive you, why can't you forgive yourself? And it doesn't matter how bad you think things might be, there's always peace to be found in Christ. Number 3. To avoid repeating the same mistakes. In a bid to bury the past or run away from it, many people end up reliving their past lives or living in the shadows of their past. For instance, a lady who's experienced heartbreak or has been dumped severely might be forced into walking on eggshells in any relationship she eventually enters due to her previous experience. Or one who's been a victim of abuse or some other psychological trauma. That can take that experience into their relationship and end up chasing whoever they enter into a relationship with. Your past should be a platform you can leverage to do things better and get things right. But if you don't make peace with it, you might end up living under the shadows of your past, allowing it to rule and dictate your present, and consequently, the future that lies ahead of you. There's a need to stop being sentimental about things like this. Face your past objectively. Accept what has been. You can't change it, but you can learn from it and ensure that the mistakes and horrible experiences you've had do not repeat themselves. You might have no control over what has been, but you can do something about the future. This is yet another important reason you must make peace with your past, so you don't end up running around in circles.